Hello and welcome. My name is Kate Marant. I work at the DC Department of Small and Local Business Development as part of the Innovation and Equitable Development Division. We have been hosting a series of webinars with our good friends and partners at DC's Department of Energy and the Environment to learn about the many different things that are happening at DOEE, both to support our city, but also to support businesses and that businesses can be a part of in different ways. And so we are very excited today to have guest speakers here to speak about Sustainable DC. And I'm going to turn things right over to Oana.
Thanks so much, and hi everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Oana. I am part of the Urban Sustainability Administration at the Department of Energy and Environment, DOEE. And today I'm going to give an overview of our district sustainability plan, which is called Sustainable DC 2.0, since it's on its second iteration. And so I'm going to give an overview of the plan and then get into the cross-section of where the plan intersects with our small business community. And as I'm getting started here, please feel free to drop in the chat if this is your first time hearing that DC has a sustainability plan, or if you had heard of it but are not quite familiar, or even over to if you had been involved in developing it. So our current plan was developed over the course of a couple years between 2017 to 2019. And there are several focus groups and surveys and working technical groups that were involved in developing it. So curious if anyone is coming from that level of engagement. So first, like I said, I'll give an overview of the plan. So to start, what's a sustainability plan and why do we have one? Sustainability is one of those words that can get really defined very different ways by very different many people. The way that we view sustainability is this combined focus on economy, equity, and environment together. So approaching all those three together is incredibly important and necessary, particularly since just focusing on one might let the others lag. So DC has a sustainability plan, which is really the only junction point where all these three topics come together. So like I mentioned, our current plan is called Sustainability DC 2.0, which entails there was a 1.0, an original. So the very first plan came out in 2013, and since then we have this annual progress report process, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail. And then in 2019 is when we released the second version of the plan, which is what we have now. And we've continued to put out those annual progress reports since. So the Sustainable DC plan is a great example of a long-standing city plan that has survived multiple administrations and lots of different changes over time. And so it's also set an example with this annual progress reporting process. So you may hear of a lot of plans and sometimes kind of wonder whatever happens to them. And one of the ways we really keep Sustainable DC alive and relevant and top of mind is by doing this annual progress report, which is quite detailed. So the annual progress report has essentially two components, one more easily digestible piece that highlights the key initiatives that had happened in the previous calendar year to move forward on sustainability, and then a much more detailed chart that shows all of the actions in the plan, where they are in terms of being complete, and a short description of what progress has happened in the past year. So in terms of the plan itself, since it does cover equity, environment, and economy together, it covers a wide swath of topics. So our two topics that essentially permeate throughout are governance and equity. And then the rest that you see on the screen here are how we cover those three themes throughout the plan. So as you can see, it covers quite a lot, and there's lots of related plans and initiatives within DC government that fit under Sustainable DC. Since the original plan came out in 2013, that was in several ways a starter of other initiatives and other plans to get into more detail in some of these specific topic areas. The plan structure, if you ever pick up the actual plan, like I said, equity and governance are these overarching topics that are throughout. And then for other, for each topic, there are high-level goals, specific targets with quantitative metrics, and then specific actions. So to give you an example of that structure, one of our energy goals is about improving efficiency of energy use DC-wide. And then the specific target is that by 2032, we cut per capita energy use, so per person energy use by half. And some of the actions that will help us get there are expanding tracking of energy use at the building level and setting standards for existing buildings to reduce their energy. So these are just a couple of concrete examples to get people to start to understand what kind of details are in this plan. And thankfully, 98% of the actions are either started or in progress or complete. So there's definitely movement on many of the actions, but when you get into the progress report, that's when you can really see, okay, these actions are someone at the earlier stages and these other ones are more advanced. So as I mentioned, our progress reporting process is one of the ways that we keep movement and momentum on this plan going. So every year we engage the 25 plus agencies that are involved in achieving our sustainability goals to report on progress on each of the plan actions, of which there are 167. So this is both an accountability tool internally, so that every year we have to remind ourselves, engage against the actions in the plan. And since this progress report is available publicly, it's also an accountability tool for community members to see how we are doing on these actions. So we actually just released the latest progress report a week or so ago. So the latest progress report that is online at sustainable.dc.gov reflects the progress we've made on the actions and goals for the last calendar year 2021. So where do small businesses fit in? Like I said, economy is one of the three themes within sustainability, and economy is also one of our topic areas in the plan. So in the economy section, there are goals and targets related to building out our small business community and expanding it. So in many ways, by their very own existence, small businesses are helping us advance our sustainability goals. There's also individual and business actions that you can take to advance our sustainability goals, which I'll get into in a little bit. There's also this role of building out skill sets within the workforce, even if you're not in what one might think is a green company like doing solar or something like that. There's lots of pieces and processes of just running a business, no matter what its service or product is, that can help those staff members build skills that are aligned with sustainability. So whether it's ordering supplies and if it's paper, knowing what type of characteristics to look for, whether it's recycled content paper in that specific situation, or if you're looking for a vendor for a specific product or service, figuring out what type of certifications and like minority-owned businesses to look for, and local businesses, how to find local businesses in the DC area so that we can build out our own local economy. Those are some of the ways that small businesses and their employees can help build internal skill sets within their companies in ways that align with our sustainability goals. Next, on green operations, one of my colleagues here is on the line that works directly with our business community, and here at the Department of Energy and Environment, We have resources to help you green your operations, again, regardless of what your small business actually focuses on. And so there are, you can reach out to my colleague Mary Lynn or her other colleagues that work with our business community to provide customized resources and tailored solutions for how to reduce carbon emissions or increase energy efficiency. Like we just showed that example of one of the actions in the plan is about using energy more efficiently. So there are absolutely resources to turn to help you do those things in a way that, almost all the time is also going to result in cost savings. And then the other big bucket I put in here is stay in touch. Like I said, when we were updating the plan from the first iteration to the second version, there were focus groups and surveys out to the community, including with the small business community. And so those ideas helped shape our sustainability goals. So those are now the goals that we are holding ourselves as DC government agencies accountable to meeting. So that's a role that small businesses can certainly play. We have a once a month Sustainable DC newsletter, and that often includes funding opportunities. So lately we've been publicizing an opportunity that we had in this agency about transitioning from disposable foodware to reusable foodware. So restaurants would certainly be a key target audience for that type of funding. So through that newsletter and other means, of course, we publicize funding opportunities. So that's a great way to stay connected as well. So one thing I mentioned earlier was about one role that small businesses can play is helping the district achieve its sustainability goals and also find ways to save money and green operations. So one of the resources we have on the Sustainable DC website, which is sustainable.dc.gov, is this Go Green page. It is targeted towards residents, but there's a lot of very relevant information that would pertain to actions that businesses can do as well. So this list of actions on our Go Green page was developed by looking at the sustainability plan and honing in on the pieces where individuals can have an impact. So there's a lot of actions in the plan that are systemic, as they should be. So that's why all the actions in the plan are led by a government agency or supported by a partner agency, because there's lots of systemic changes that need to happen in order to achieve our sustainability goals. At the same time, there's a huge role that individuals and businesses can play. So this Go Green page on our website is translated into 6 non-English languages that are most commonly spoken in the district. And this page includes tangible actions that people can take. When we did those focus groups in the development of the plan, we did hear from people that, sure, I'm supportive of sustainability, but like what exactly can I be doing? And so this page is us trying to answer that question. And as you can see, there's specific actions, recommendations people can take. I've expanded here the conserve energy section, and there's also resources. So you can certainly tell someone to use more energy efficient lighting, but what does that mean, and how can I get there? So for example, the example I've pulled out here is under our conserve energy section. We have some tips about reducing energy use when you don't need it, but also transitioning to more efficient lighting. So one of the resources that we provide under there is our DC Sustainable Energy Utility, which is a fabulous partner if you've never worked with them, but they have resources for businesses to help them transition to more energy efficient lighting. So this is a good entryway spot to start with if you're interested into seeing what kind of tangible things can I do. And again, taking the lens of sustainability is environment equity and economic development. Not all the actions are focused just on the environment piece. We really tried to go broader, and we have tips in there about being a green consumer and that kind of thing too. So that was really my overview, and I saw some things flicker in the chat, but I wasn't able to quite digest them. So I can take a look through those, or if Kate or Mary Lynn would like to raise the profile of any of the ones we've mentioned. I did also have a couple of additional questions to throw out to the group that I'd love to hear input on, but I'll open it up first to see what has come through the chat.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and support this, and I'll just kind of take it in order. And if I do miss your question, please just either raise your hand or put that in the chat as we go through. But the first one is for someone who is working with the DC Environmental Network to include maker spaces and incubators in the Sustainable DC plan. And they specifically asked if there's been any progress on a plan item. It is EC 1.3. And then let me go ahead and get the name of that because they put that in later. EC 1.3 is work with private partners to support new incubators and maker spaces with a focus on communities most in need.
Yeah, and if I saw correctly at the corner, I think that might have come from Kent, who I think I have an email out to discuss this very topic. So to answer the question of where we stand on that, I should have had pulled up our latest progress report here, but the latest progress report does go action by action and shows a 0 to 4 ranking scale. 0 means this has not started and 4 is complete. This one, I believe, is more so in the early stages. Certainly, COVID had an impact on this action moving forward. But one of the things that has happened recently is some kitchen matchmaking events that I believe DSLBD was heavily involved with to get up and coming food related business owners with the appropriate space and resources needed to help their business flourish. There's the existing makerspace at the MLK Library, which we've now partnered with for our Fix It DC events, where folks can bring in broken items that they can get some coaching on to help them potentially fix. So this is an area that could certainly use additional discussion and thinking about how to move it forward. We do also have a grant opportunity open right now that closes on the 19th, so pretty soon, which is related to donation and reuse of materials. However, if any entity can also make a tie-in with makerspaces as part of that, as part of promoting and donation and reuse, that could be a potential funding opportunity that advances not only donation and reuse, but also incubators and makerspaces.
Thank you for that. And I also just dropped in the chat, since you mentioned commercial kitchen matchmaking, our team member Caroline Howe, in partnership with the Food Policy Council, has held 2 of those. If you are interested in getting involved with that effort, please email us at inno.ed@dc.gov. Again, that is inno.ed@dc.gov. I'm just going to highlight a comment, and then Oana, if you have anything additional to share in this comment, otherwise we'll go to the next question. We have, I think it's Muriel, from a founder of a new DC startup that is doing plastic film collection and recycling, so plasticbagrecycling.com. And they are just learning about the plan. They know about it from the internet and the website, but they've never met with anyone working on it. I don't know, for new businesses that are getting involved very much within recycling and other pieces, if there are specific ways you'd suggest that they'd want to get further connected with the plan as it moves forward.
Sure. Sorry. So the question is how to engage with the plan.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, we are going to be due for another update soon. So certainly if you keep up to date through our newsletter, for example, our monthly newsletter, which you can subscribe to at sustainable.dc.gov, that's a good way to keep tabs on how things are evolving from the plan development perspective. right now we have our current plan we're implementing. So I would say there's, you know, there's many ways to engage with the plan, and depending on your specific interest, if it's about building out the plastic recycling business specifically, I know that's a process that's in place at several grocery stores, for example. So I'm assuming you've, connected with those types of resources to learn specifically about the business. Um, but in terms of the plan itself, we have several when in addition to the individual actions that one can take through that Go Green page, there's also a lot of volunteer opportunities. So for anyone that's just kind of wondering how to start getting engaged with sustainability in general, one of the items we have on our website, sustainable.dc.gov, is a volunteer calendar that's kept up to date with existing community organizations whose mission and work aligns with DC's sustainability goals that accept volunteers and have regular volunteer opportunities. So that's one of the channels that we guide people to when they want to get involved in some way with sustainability. If there's more, if there's a specific action you want to hone in on in the sustainability plan, I would say let's have additional discussion on what it would look like to get involved specifically with that action.
Yeah. Can I have a small follow-up now, or do you want to go over all the chat and then I can ask?
Oh, yeah, for the follow-up, go ahead and follow that up right now.
Yeah. So I have like two main questions. One is first about working with the, so I know there's a new draft legislation with DOEE about asking retailers to offer plastic film collection to any place that has more than 1,000 square feet. And I know like the OEE will be doing the enforcement. So is there any way where, like, are there mechanism where we can get in touch with the DOEE and talk with them about advice in terms of operations? Who are these retailers, and like doing stuff like that, and just also getting their general advice about like doing operations in the district. And one last thing is, I know that the management companies, so a lot of the buildings, so we offer a subscription for buildings. The cost of the subscription is like $2 per month per apartment. So we're trying to make it be very cheap, but for large buildings. And I wonder if you guys can help connect us to the management companies who have a sustainable plan, because some management companies and properties maybe have incentives to be more sustainable and more green. And so if you can help us find them, talk to them, kind of introduce us, I wonder if that's something we can co-work on, because it usually comes down to the management companies who either own or operate the buildings.
Sure. So on that legislation you referenced, I think we'll have to see how it shakes out and if it passes and exactly what form it takes. Right now it's framed as if it would be part of our product stewardship portfolio, which product stewardship is essentially our programs that focus on having producers take responsibility for the products they make. So right now we have a product stewardship program related to paint and electronics and certain electronics. And then there's another one being set up that's related to battery stewardship. So through the existing ones for paint and electronics, there are collection mechanisms in place to collect those two types of products. So depending on how the plastic bag legislation shakes out, maybe it would take a similar form, but maybe it would take a different form. In terms of connecting you to potential customers, that might be a dangerous line for a government agency to walk. So I would
you're right,
defer.
Rhonda. We don't do that.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
a perfectly great answer. That's a perfectly great answer. Thank you so much. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Heading back to the chat, going in a little bit of a different direction. We have Jim Shulman from the Alliance for Regional Cooperation, and he asked, Is there a way for Sustainable DC to help enforce the residential building code requirements for the salvage and reuse of building materials? That's currently a law, but it's unclear if there is a sufficient bandwidth at DCRA for full enforcement on that.
Interesting. You've delved into a topic I'm not super familiar with, but I am super familiar that Sustainable DC itself does not conduct any enforcement. So as you pointed out, that sounds like it fall under the purview of DCRA. So if DCRA is not having the bandwidth or capacity to do that fully, the the role Sustainable DC can play is if there's a aligned action in the plan, which I'm sure there is, about recovery of materials, we can try to connect with DCRA and see if there's any gaps that our capacity can fill. But we don't have oversight over that other agency, for example. So we can't essentially do much beyond soft power to influence them.
Thank you for that. We're gonna move to another question, and it's one that I'm also happy to help answer. And let me turn my camera on here from DSLBD. There's a question about being able to provide our services to DC. I assume that means DC government. And so the question is, what would be the most efficient and direct way for NRG Co-op LLC to a sustainability implementation business to provide services to DC? They provide solar PV, LED lighting, green infrastructure, and more.
I would be happy to defer to you on that because I think that would involve the process of being a CBE, Certified Business Enterprise. So if you have any introductory remarks on how one would do that and maybe a resource with more details.
Happy to do that. So the Certified Business Enterprise Program is at the Department of Small and Local Business Development. It is a preference point system for truly local DC businesses that are headquartered here to be able to get preference points on district government contracts, both on direct contracts, but also on subcontracts. To give you a size and scale of the scope of the CBE program, the goal for district government spending with certified business enterprises this year is $1 billion, and we anticipate meeting that goal. And so if you are a truly local business and you are interested in government contracting, the CBE program can be a very helpful certification. There's additional business development support, both from the business opportunities team within DSLBD, as well as the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And through both of those, you'll be able to look at the CBE process, look at different trainings, advice, and support, but also get registered with the Office of Contracts and Procurement and start looking through RFPs. Within that, we highly recommend that you take a look at the Green Book, but also do show up to sessions like this from agencies of interest to learn more about what's going on so that you're in a good space. But specifically around some of these sustainability implementation pieces, there are some really great opportunities with DCSEU, which was mentioned earlier. That's the DC Sustainable Energy Utility. They are the arm for district government and for DOEE that is doing a lot of incredible contracting work on building upgrades under the BEPS performance standards. And so if you would like to have yourself or your staff go through a career pathway on green jobs and green building, they have a ton of free trainings. Many of those are available now, and they have open enrolling RFPs for being able to get into energy benchmarking and building upgrades. And so I'm going to put some of those links for DCSEU in the chat, as well as some of the links for getting connected to CBE. I'm going to jump down. So one person highlighted, just so that everyone knows this from the chat, is that MLK Library has a Fix-It clinic tomorrow in their makerspace. But on the topic of makerspaces, the question is, are there any industrial style makerspaces that can be used to test equipment and operate it, particularly looking for creating balers of plastic film and space that has high clearance? I don't know if that's something that DOEE, if you would have information or resources on.
I unfortunately do not know the answer to that question. So if any of the other DC government representatives on the line do, please chime in, but unfortunately, I'm not sure the answer to that question.
This is Mary Lynn. We'll hear. No, I do not. But Vinicio Linares, who is the other Sustainable Business Program staff person, program analyst, might have more information. I don't believe he's on this call, but his area of expertise is circular economy, and he's particularly interested in incubators. So, Ken, I'm going to forward your email over to him.
And changing topics a little bit, I will say in terms of space, I don't know if there are dedicated and operating maker spaces on that right now. There may be just vacant spaces that you might be able to use on a temporary basis, because we do know there is a lot of currently vacant space that's happening. And so that's not necessarily something that's going to be easy to find in a list, but that space may be available because of the high levels of vacancy that we see right now. The next question, and this goes back to the plan regarding farm lease programs. Are there any farm lease programs or spaces available for those interested in starting urban farms?
Yes, this is why working on sustainability is fun, interesting, and can be a challenge because it covers so many different topics. We talked about plastic bag recycling, now we're talking about urban farms. So we have at DOEE an Office of Urban Agriculture. It's comprised of two wonderful staff members, and there are several programs, including a tax abatement program and a lease program to encourage the use of space for urban farming. So if Mary Lynn, you might be more adept at pulling up a link quickly, or Kate, if you have it, but I would say search for DOEE Office of Urban Agriculture, and you'll pull up our Urban Ag page, and there's contact information to reach out to about each of the programs that we have to incentivize urban farming in the district.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to move back up there, but on a number more questions. I guess this is sort of related. Someone did ask about mixed use land zone that's residential and agriculture. I know that would probably be a good question for zoning. I don't know DOEE if anyone from DOEE has more information specifically on zoning related to agriculture, if that's all, again, best put back to the Urban Agriculture Division.
I would, yeah, turn to the Office of Urban Agriculture for that level of detail.
Looking through for more questions. All right, some of this has been some great information. If you're not in the chat and you're on this session, please, folks are adding some great information in here. Not all of it is questions, so I want to make sure that I get to all of the full questions. Okay, if I missed your question, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I know that that Oana has some additional questions to just sort of have a conversation around that. So I'll turn it back over to you, and I'll let you know if I see another question flag.
Oh, I was just going to throw out questions to the group if we needed more discussion fodder. So, sorry, just caught my eye that the link Mary Lynn put in, I think should be doee.dc.gov/urban ag for Office of Urban Agriculture. The couple of questions I had for the group were if there are any specific resources that you all would need to green your operations, in part to generate ideas of maybe resources that we don't already have available. So that was essentially it. So if anyone has suggestions on that, feel free to put it in the chat. I know we might also be a couple minutes over, so happy to wrap up if helpful.
I have one question. My name is Jay Bradley. I'm with Estella Incorporated. I do a lot of affordable development housing in the district, and we're in the process of submitting an RFP for some affordable housing in the Northwest. I was curious to know, is there anybody I could contact at the DOEE pertaining to the Sustainability DC 2.0 to make sure we're in compliance with that policy when it comes to the renovation of this project that we're getting ready to submit on?
Sure. So I'll say Sustainable DC plan is not itself a regulation that anyone needs to be in compliance of. It's our goals as DC government agencies and as a DC community to aim to meet. So if you have a specific project that you're working on, you can certainly reach out to me and I can point you into the right person that would be more involved in that level of detail work. So I'm just going to put my email in the chat there. So as the Sustainable DC, point person, I'm usually fielding lots of specific questions, and then I can hopefully connect you to the right resource within DOEE or within other DC government agencies to get more in depth on your specific project. But affordable housing in itself is certainly in alignment with the goals in Sustainable DC. And then there's lots of more detailed goals and actions related to building materials and that kind of thing that are also in Sustainable DC 2.0, the plan. But again, some of the actions have been codified into law and legislation now, but the plan itself is not a requirement.
No problem. Could you give me your email address verbally, because I'm on a cell phone. I'm not on the chat.
Sure. Sorry about that. It's
That's
kind
okay.
of long, so let me know if you have a pen and paper handy.
I am ready.
Okay, it's OANA dot LEAHU hyphen ALAS at dc.gov. You can also, I should have just said, you can email sustainable@dc.gov and I will get that as well.
Okay, so it's OANA.LEANU hyphen PLANS.
It's OANA.LEAHU hyphen ALUAS.
.com.
At dc.gov, G-O-V.
Or at dc.gov. Okay, very good. ALVAS is on the back end, .dc.gov.
It's a U instead of a V, so ALUAS.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mind if I make a comment on that? Speak directly to the gentleman. Hey, this is Ken Rollins, architect. I'm familiar with the DC Green Energy Code, and understandable that some of the elements from Sustainable 2.0 are also part of the Green Energy Code. Also working with someone submitting an RFP for affordable housing in the district. If you want to have a conversation about a few of those items that you have a concern about, I'm willing to, have that discussion offline.
How can I reach you?
You can send me an email, and we can set up a time.
Okay.
Same pen and paper. Again, my name is Kenneth Rollins. Rollins is ROLLINS. And email address is krollins@rollinsarch.com, and arch is ARCH.com.
Thank you.
Your name again, sir?
Jay Briley.
Jay Bradley. Okay, I'll look out for your email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. It is always great to see folks collaborating and working together. I know there was one last quick question in the chat, and then I know we are over time, and I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank our presenters and colleagues from DOEE. Last question, are there any electric van shares in DC?
Not that I know of. So great role of small businesses in Sustainable DC2 is, especially when you look at the progress report, see some of the actions that are lagging. If you have a great business idea that aligns with those, that might be a good trove of ideas to mine for green business entrepreneurship. So, you know, there are car share programs in the city, but I don't think there are any that, certainly not any that are fully electric. And I'm not even sure if any of the fleets of the existing car shares have any electric vehicles as of yet.
I want to say thank you to Oana. I want to say thank you also to Mary Lynn and Benicio who are on the line, and thank you everyone for being here. We have already posted the link where you can get access to the slide deck. We are going to be sending out to everyone who registered for this session a copy of the recording, as well as a link where you can get both the slide deck as well as the chat, because I know there was some great information in the chat as well. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording and say have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.